After arriving and parking, the family plus Leo headed over to the nearby entrance. Colby had explained that there were two entrances that mages could use to enter, but one of those was designated a werewolf entrance and the other a vampire entrance so that you didn't accidentally have them coming to the same entrance. They were at the entrance, and Deacon was chatting with the bouncer. They gestured for Leo to join them so that he could get the suppressor band on his wrist and get a feel for it before joining the crowds inside. Aaron was backed by Jeremiah, Shelby, and Colby. Colby moved so that he passed Jeremiah and whispered,
"He's here. Don't look at him, or I think you'll spook him."
Jeremiah grinned and looked down at Aaron and spoke softly.
"Aaron, look at me."
She did.
"We're talking, smile and nod."
She had heard Colby, so was following along.
"Perfect, I'm talking, now I've said something funny."
She chuckled, putting a hand over her mouth and smacked his arm. She then wagged a finger at him ruefully.
"You're good at this."
He looked up and saw the family was moving forward.
"I'm going to put my hand on your back as we walk in."
He did, and they walked the rest of the way in. Leo's hearing had caught what Colby had said as well as what Jeremiah had been saying. Still, he didn't like where Jeremiah's hand was.
That was perfect. Susanna says he's pissed.
Colby grinned. Jacob led the family over to a group of tables and ordered a round of drinks, various favorite alcohols for the adults and cokes for the kids. Deacon leaned over towards Leo,
"How are you holding up?"
gesturing to the suppressor band.
"It feels weird. It kind of goes away if I think about something else, but I don't like it."
"That's to be expected. How are your other senses?"
Hearing and smell are about the same. Maybe what they are like if I were tired?
"Good. I'm going to go up and register."
Deacon replied before getting up from the table. Leo took a look around the inside of the club. The center was dominated by the fighting ring. Its floor was a mixture of sand and dirt for easy cleaning up of blood. A few paces out from the ring were plexiglass partitions to keep people from getting sprayed with blood or even to get smacked with a flying body being tossed from the ring. Booths lined the walls, and tables were scattered around, filling up the available space. The bar area was small and only meant for waitstaff or patrons to pick up orders, not to sit. Right next to the bar was the area that Deacon was headed to, which was a slightly raised platform where you registered to fight or place bets. Above this platform were lists of coming fights as well as odds for betting. Jeremiah explained to Leo and Aaron that you could go into a random fight draw or request to fight a specific person. If you went for a random draw, you were placed in various tiers, so you didn't have someone like Deacon going up against someone like Colby, who was not a fighter. The ring was currently in use by a pair of mages fighting hand-to-hand. Tonight was mage hand-to-hand fighting only. There were a few other werewolves in attendance that he didn't know, so guessed they may come from another pack. He also saw a few vampires, but they, like the werewolves, were very few in number and were keeping as far apart from each other as they could. Deacon's name showed up on the upcoming fights list. He was given 2-1 odds against his opponent. When Deacon returned to the table, Rufus said,
"I don't think I've ever seen you be given lower odds than your opponent, at least not since you've left Berkshire."
"Yes, who is this Solomon you will be fighting?"
Scarlet asked.
"Solomon is really good. We actually have pretty even odds, but they don't like to do even odds because it would discourage betting. They flipped a coin and gave him the better odds."
"Which path is he?"
Jacob asked.
"Shaman. He can get downright feral when he fights."
Deacon replied. Jacob chuckled.
"Sounds about right."
At Aaron and Leo's confused looks, he explained,
"It comes from the path we awakened from. It's a very primal path full of cunning and fearlessness. The Necromancer path is mentally long. This can create social issues and even madness. Not everyone can be alone for so long without cracking. The Shaman path is a path of the fairy wildlands. You hone your instincts to not anger the Fae. If you do, they can enforce fairy contracts that have to be fulfilled before you can move on. The more you anger them, the harder they are. The Necromancer path must be done all at once, and physically take several days as they go into a coma-like state. None of the other paths are like this. They happen in little pieces that allow you to rest and recuperate and study. Some of the fairy contracts are fulfilled in that world, and some are fulfilled in the waking world. The contracts you must fulfill in that world require a special kind of ferociousness that we tend to utilize when we fight. I explain this to say that this fight will be very good.
Dave was at a nearby table, far enough away that he wouldn't be able to hear much said at their table.
I'm going to get up and talk to a few friends of mine I see are here. Dave won't come over here to confront me with all of you here.
Jeremiah smirked.
Happy hunting!
Colby said as his older cousin left them. He idly watched as Dave left his table to go confront Jeremiah.
Hook, line, and sinker.
He grinned when the jackass took the bait. After some arguing and gesturing, the two men headed up to the registration counter. After a few minutes, their names showed up on the upcoming fights, several after Deacons with 4-1 odds against Jeremiah.
Why did they give him such low odds?
Aaron asked. Shelby explained.
Jeremiah isn't much of a fighter, at least at clubs like this. Dave likes to prove how tough he is by fighting here and at the club down in Charlotte, so he has a ranking at the club, whereas Jeremiah doesn't. In fact, they only gave him such high odds because of his size.
So how is a fight determined?
Leo asked.
Only 3 ways.
Susanna replied as Jeremiah rejoined them. She counted them off on her fingers.
Knockout, a submission tap out, or a fighter can concede the fight.
Most end in a knockout.
Deacon added.
Most people don't want to give up, so submissions usually end with broken bones or chokeouts, and I've only seen someone concede once. The magic fights are a bit different, as are the mage versus whir and mage versus vampire fights. Those have quite a few more rules, so have an actual referee. As you see, these don't. There is an overseer that can step in if the combatants don't recognize that their opponent is passed out or has conceded the match. You can see that each fighter has to wear a suppressor. If they attempt to remove it or it becomes broken in the match, the overseer will stop the fight and may provide a new band or declare a winner if they think the band was purposefully removed. It can get snagged and removed accidentally, so they make that determination.
Soon enough, it was time for the Deacon-Solomon match. Aaron had never seen Deacon fight full out like this. He had only been showing her movements and given her someone to practice against. Just as he was a minimalist in sword fighting, he was a minimalist in hand-to-hand. Aaron knew that the fighting style he used was called Hapkido. He had explained to her that this fighting style was great for using an opponent's movements against them while also keeping control of the fight. When Shelby had asked what kind of fighting style Solomon had, Deacon had replied it was called Muay Thai. The fight was dynamic. Solomon's movements were aggressive and brutal, designed to cause pain with each hit. Deacon's movements were smaller and controlled. While Solomon was using up his energy, Deacon was conserving his with blocking and throwing Solomon with small, precise movements. The hits that Solomon landed were brutal, and Deacon was bleeding from several areas as a result. It was only after several minutes of fight that Deacon was able to catch Solomon in a submission hold. When Solomon didn't yield, he followed through, which broke Solomon's arm, which then allowed Deacon to grapple again and choke him out. As soon as Solomon went limp, Deacon released and helped his opponent to wake up. He then helped him up and walked him over to Jacob to heal. The club had shaman on hand, but Deacon trusted his dad the most and wanted Solomon to be good as new. These club fights were rarely personal, and Deacon actually liked Solomon and had lost to him as often as he had won against him. After they were both healed up, Solomon sat with the family for a fight or two as the two men talked about their fight and how they were or weren't expecting various moves, as well as offering pointers to each other.
Hey Shelby, my fight is coming up. Can I use your hair tie? I don't want to give him a handhold.
Of course.
She pulled the tie out of her hair and handed it over, then gave her hair a fluff with magic to take out the crease in her hair caused by the hair tie. Jeremiah wound up his long hair in a messy bun, finishing it as his name was called out to come to the center ring.
I didn't realize you were fighting,
Solomon said, as Jeremiah stood.
Who is he fighting?
He asked Deacon.
That asshole, Dave.
Deacon replied, using his chin to point to the man in question. Solomon had been about to get up, but sat back down.
Oh, this will be good. Kick his ass. That jerk comes in all the time thinking he belongs in the Tier 1 fights. Dude is Tier 3 at best. I need to go make a bet.
He got up and ran to the registration booth to put down money on Jeremiah. No one at the table was allowed to bet on Deacon or Jeremiah's fights because they were family. Leo could have, but didn't. He had thought it would be rude to make money off of Aaron's family like that. Solomon made it back just in time for the first moves to be made in the fight. Deacon quickly explained to Aaron and Leo that Dave used a kickboxer's style, whereas Jeremiah didn't have a fighting style. Solomon added that it was best described as barroom brawling. The difference in the two fights was immediate. Deacon and Solomon's fight was the fight between masters in their styles, and had been rather beautiful to watch and appreciate. This fight was wild and brutal. Jeremiah was not a ranked fighter, but would definitely be ranked after this. The hits that landed on Jeremiah looked like they didn't even faze him. Yes, they bloodied him. But the rage within Jeremiah didn't seem to let him feel them. Every strike Jeremiah made on Dave left bruises and gashes. At one point, Jeremiah had caught Dave's fist and then brought it down across his knee to break the arm. Aaron wasn't sure if Dave was too proud or too stupid to concede. He should have conceded. Maybe he still thought Jeremiah was that skinny, weak kid from River Brook. If he did, he was stupid. Once Jeremiah had him off center, he wailed on him. Blood flung from Jeremiah's fists, but that idiot kept on trying to fight back. In his rage, Jeremiah lifted Dave off the ground and performed the backbreaker without Dave being able to compensate and stop the actual damage like WWF wrestlers are able to do. There was a distinctive snap, and Dave went limp. Dave's eyes were wide when he realized that Jeremiah had really broken his back. You could hear a pin drop as Jeremiah roared,
If I ever see you near me or anyone in my family again, I will rip your skeleton from its meat sheath and snatch your wraith before it can exit your body to turn it into a toilet scrub brush. You will be cleaning shit stains for all eternity. Do you fucking understand me?
Dave was too stunned to answer, so Jeremiah left him. The sudden paralyzation had caused Dave to piss himself. A pair of shamans entered the ring to see to Dave. Jeremiah handed his suppressor to the overseer and headed back to the family table. Jacob gestured for him to come over to him, and he healed him of his various wounds.
That was awesome, man,
Solomon exclaimed.
I just won a ton of money.
He grinned.
Wait, can necromancers really do that?
Leo asked. Solomon turned to Leo.
Werewolf. Nice. Blood Talon?
Leo nodded.
Nice to officially meet you. And to answer your question, yes, they can. It's on the dark side of their magic, just like each path has darker aspects. A skilled shaman could cause your organs to fail, and a skilled mighty one could cause your blood to boil within you. It takes a lot of skill, but I believe that Jeremiah could do every word of what he claimed.
Leo looked at Aaron a little apprehensively.
Could you do that?
I suppose eventually, but I don't think I hate anyone enough to want to do that to someone.
What about the part about molding wraiths?
Oh, yeah. Technically I could if the wraith is new enough. That's part of why wraiths are careful around necromancers. They don't know if they are going to be strong enough to fight against a necromancer that wants to abuse them like that. It's possible, but extremely unethical.
She replied.
Oh yeah, super unethical.
Solomon agreed.
But that asshole could use the lesson in humility.
Hey everyone, hope you loved the video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe for more awesome sci-fi content. You can also support us by hitting the thanks button at the bottom of the video. Your generosity goes a long way. Every bit helps us bring you more stories from the stars. Thanks a bunch.